someone I haven't heard from in a long time.
That
rules you out.
Okay, good.
That rules me out.
No, I heard from you last week, but this would be good for you to do. What you say?
I ain't have no problem.
You do it?
The worst I could do is be wrong.
Exactly. No. I always hear from you. Don't put your hand on the side of your eye. Let's go. Come on there. B. Don't be shy. Come on and grind, you know. One will go away, one will go B.
Let's go B, we got you.
Let's go. This is painless. I tell you, the key with the reading is you need to read in order to be able to answer assignment 2. So don't get left behind and then you try to jam it all in and you miss out key things. Read. And I tell you that last week, I said, please read. So that's good. You are the retiring MLRO. So it's the opposite from your exam question. Your exam question, you are new. So in this one, you're supposed to know. Okay? From a regulated organization and sector and from a jurisdiction of your choice. Before leaving the organization, you've been asked to join the recruiting interview panel for your successor. Remember, I told you your exam, this assignment question doesn't look at what is required for appointing an MLRO, but I told you the question can come either way. So it's saying you're leaving on good terms and have agreed to assist with their request. The managing director of the organization has asked you to draft a series of interview questions for the applicants that can be asked at the interview. You are also requested to draft a guidance for other members of the panel, the type of responses you are looking for from good candidates. Draft 5 key questions and responses that will elicit the skills, experience, and knowledge you would expect from high-performing interviewees. So, we wait on our 2 volunteers to give us their reply. Who didn't get a question? I'm telling you now, this is something you should know. And you have to take those skills and those attributes and put them in your own words. So it's time now to do it.
I don't have enough space on the board.
She's looking for you to help her, you know.
Okay, so you ready to write our questions?
Yeah. Come help her.
All right.
Come up and help her. Come up and help her. While she's focusing, she's concentrating over there. What is the question? 5 questions. And you know, for those who have been on interviews before, this is not abnormal, this is normal. They always have 5 key questions, and they have the answers already typed at the bottom. So when the interviewer asks you a question, the answer there, they know what they're looking for. And that normally comes to the person who sat in the position before. But that person left and it wasn't on good terms, they find someone else who's been in that position before, and they get stripped of what the answers should look like. So that's why I say knowing what the MLRO is supposed to do is something that you should know. And to get this down pat, no matter how the question comes, whether you're new or you're retiring, you know in your head the experience, the skills, and the attributes that an MLRO is supposed to have. Anyone else from A, the design? Get a lifeline, you know.
Help.
Ask.
Help. Fine, keep questions. You're doing really good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very proud of you.
How would you categorize a PET or handbook? How would you? How would you categorize what? A PET or handbook? What special consideration?
Yeah, with special consideration.
Escalation and exiting your role.
Have you ever been involved with escalation of an
She'll do the life flight.
Anyone go into the games this afternoon? That's 7 o'clock, so you got all day. Just make sure nobody said if skip out, then go here, go there, go there. You want to go this? You want to go? Your seat is there. Your question is there. Go right there. Right there. Right there. Sit right there. Waiting for you.
Ready to back up? I mean,
Why did you call him out to help you? No, I have a present for him. Keep going. Glad you're here. This room is for you. What is, so, what your favorite line?
a fifth one.
Blank. Thoughts? Don't wait till they finish, you know. Don't wait till they finish. It's not right, you know. You might be finished, right? Let's go. I don't want you all to make a mistake.
One of those papers.
And then before you finish, anyone is 3 weeks before the exam, you're trying to scramble to find these questions and try to answer it. You need to do it now. Sometimes I'm telling you, the question comes just a few weeks different. If you have it already laid out, all you have to do is write it down.
How can, like, a question like this, what kind of portion of the math? One question, 25. That's what I'm, no, but that's what I'm asking, how many questions are there usually, like, when you say 25? Oh, that's, yeah, right, so it's, that would be 25 out of 100. Oh, no, I just mentally, it's a
So
3-hour exam.
so if you are prepared and
Yeah.
you have a question answered on,
It's a 3-hour
that's two,
exam?
yeah.
So that means
And you only run over time.
you have 45 minutes.
Then you run over
But I'm
time.
just
Right, if
mentally,
you're not prepared.
I'm just mentally trying to gear how long I'm going to answer this. And how
Right, so there's not much time to think.
It's not much, but that's still
Yeah.
45 minutes, not a 5-minute question.
No. Pass the register around to the come on. No secret from today. What? You drive? You write your own question. Don't write your own board. We haven't discussed that yet. You can write your own.
Thank you.
Anyone still need to sign in?
That's B.
B in the front. B.
I got it.
How many people started putting on their points for the background for the assignment question as to what's a poor practice for those points? And started their research on good practice. Okay. Gotta start. Huh? Yeah, then all you all start panicking and I get a bunch of emails. People complain you didn't look at mine long enough. Huh? Don't send things to me late.
Let's go.
Anyone else a date? No? You know, it's so much.
Together, right?
Okay, all right. Next, okay, well, you can discuss it. We missed you last week. You did? You missed plenty. Don't ask me later, I don't. Bye.
Yeah. It's like they took a shot at it. Yeah. We can have two of those there. What you say? We can have those.
What's that? done. What's that? For the FCS, for FACA. The Right. So, I hope you're writing all the questions. Oh, okay. So,
So after you all set up, can you move that block so we can see the board? So you have a maybe no of the guys.
I put my papers on the why I put my papers
Wait, don't stop.
Yeah, I'm fixing it right there. Everything goes down.
No, I was just trying to idea of information. What you're understanding. Thank you so much.
All right, so the question says, you are a retiring MLRO, again, from a regulated organization in a sector and from the jurisdiction of your choice. So, when you start this, you should have selected jurisdiction and your sector. That's the first thing. So before leaving, you've been asked to join the recruiting interview panel for your successor. So you're actually on the panel with this person who was applied to take your previous position as the MLRO. You're leaving on good terms and have agreed to assist with their request. So if you're leaving on good terms, what does that tell you?
You did your job.
You're an excellent MLR.
If you're leaving on good terms, what does that mean?
I haven't been fired, you resigned.
You were
Stolen from
There we go. When they say leave on good terms, it means that you don't have any animosity, you don't have any anger, and you're trying to get the best person for the job. Even though the person is better than you are, it doesn't matter. Leaving on good terms. You want a good person, someone to carry on your legacy. So they said the managing director of the organization asks you to draft a series of interview questions for the applicants that can be asked at the interview. You are also requested to draft as guidance for other members of the panel the type of responses you're looking for from good candidates. Draft 5 key questions and responses that will elicit skills, experience, and knowledge that you'll be looking for from a high performer or high performing interviewees. So what are they asking you? Oh, you're one already. Oh, he has yours. Thank you. What is this question asking you? In a nutshell, what are they asking you? Don't look at what on the board. What are they asking you?
Role and skills, experience and knowledge required of MLR.
skills, experience, and knowledge. Then actually for roles and responsibilities. Skills, experience, and knowledge. So your question has to be around not roles, not responsibilities, and not attributes. Sometimes the question comes and it asks you for attributes and responsibilities. You have to know the difference between those things, between role, responsibilities, skills, attributes, experience, knowledge. Each one of those are different. So you're looking for three things. And they ask you to draft as guidance for other members the type of responses you're looking for. So you're going to give them what? What should your outline be?
Question.
How many?
5.
They only want 5. That's the first thing. Write more than 5, then you get penalized. They want 5. And under each question, they want an answer. So the answer is supposed to be an explanation for what kind of answer you're looking for. All right, so before we write, let's just see if the questions we have on the board fall under skills, experience, and knowledge. Okay, what do you understand or believe your role is as MLRO? That fall under skills, experience, or knowledge? What, if anything, would be, what would you say? How would you explain that?
I wouldn't.
If someone asks you this question, what do you understand and believe your role is as MLRO? It's a question for role. You're looking for skills, experience, and knowledge.
Strike that
So
out.
your role, you have to be knowledgeable of the knowledge of the person.
Right.
To me, that's the knowledge question.
What is your role?
When you
It
actually
doesn't even on the job ad.
Right?
Yeah.
The ad tells you what your role is.
Morning.
You go more into that. I think it's a knowledge question.
You think that's a knowledge question?
In terms of testing the person's knowledge, I'm asking about your role, but I'm testing your knowledge.
But if I memorize that, I know exactly what my role is.
Well, I mean, you can say that about the questions that you may ask, the questions that you might have been memorized.
Okay.
When
Since
you
you're
ask,
coming on the interview.
when you ask that question, the answers come back, well, I believe the role of an MLRO is.
And you can take it right from the,
So-
right from the ad.
Getting
That's not telling me no
No.
skills, experience, or
So I
knowledge.
strike that out.
And that's what question mark there. What, if anything, would be the first thing you would do, assess during your first week on the job?
I guess the experience.
You could, that's the experience.
That's the role again.
Not quite, eh?
No. In order to do an assessment.
I would take that off. That was digging at my point.
Say scribes in the back.
Well, my thinking when I wrote the question is that if you come into a job, you need to know exactly what you're going to do first. All right, as an MLRO, what are you looking for when you hit that job? Are you going to look to see if there are any procedures or manual or reporting line of reporting in place? I want to know that you know what to do. You hit the ground running as soon as you come into my organization. You are able to tell me what you will do on your first week on the job.
Which one does that fall under? Experience?
It may pull it out, but
It all experience, knowledge, and skills, because your knowledge is to
Want
look
that
to
one.
see what you have in place.
I
You
don't
have
know.
you have an anti-money laundering or terrorist financing
But
manual in
okay, if you
place.
keep this question,
I'm
you
not
have to
saying
be able to
that's
draft
what
a
I'm saying.
response. So what is the response that you're looking for?
But
What
I
are
would
you
love to
expecting
see
this
what,
person to
what,
say?
to see what you have
Maybe
in place in
knowledge.
terms of a structure, let's say for,
Not what the organization is looking for, you have to say.
yes, well, that's what I would be looking for as an MLRO. I would see what structure you have. What is your risk space assessment in this company? Do you have any training facilities for?
What knowledge?
yeah.
I mean, that's what I would look for.
She said she wants all three.
Yeah, I would put.
All right, we'll leave it for now. What legislation, statutory requirements are,
Or should you
be aware of?
Knowledge.
Okay, that's not just knowledge. How would you classify it, Pat?
That's knowledge. but given that
If
it's
you
only
only got this
5
role, you're
questions.
supposed to know.
Given that it's only 5 questions,
And you only need 5.
I'll take that off.
Remember, and if you only have to draft 5 questions, 5 responses,
That's
you
what
must
we
cover
want,
these
yeah.
3 things.
It does
So
take-
right now, you got 1, but
does
you're
take 5
expanding
key
across.
questions.
Right.
I'll take that off.
Because they're all, see, this can always be a little throw-in.
In somewhere, somehow, yeah.
Okay, so let's take this one up. Do you have any previous experience in the exercise? If yes, how long and what capacity?
Yes.
Experience, that's experience.
Will it not be on the resume?
But pull it out. I
You may pull out a particular,
Yeah, you asked that to get them to tell you more
okay, so what
about
you want? Experience?
that. Experience.
That could,
I think
Yeah.
that's probably a question you'd ask on an actual interview, but how could you respond to that for the exam?
If I went up to tell me now, how you gonna answer that? You have to give a response.
Well, I mean, basically, you're gonna give a format of the answer, so the answer would be whatever the organization want. If you want someone with 5 years experience, so when this person responds,
That
they'll
would be-
expect them to say,
Then you
I've
do
worked
the
for more
introduction
than
with
5
your
years.
choice. You have to set up what the roles and responsibilities are. What is it you expect this person to do?
in the intro.
No.
I missed what you
How
started.
you gonna put the ad in the paper?
Okay,
When
okay.
you start the question, you're gonna state what it is you're looking for,
Okay.
right? So your question would be based on that premise.
Mhm.
Bring it to these 3 things.
I'm taking up your word count.
No, this is the final exam now, you know, it's no word count. You keep writing.
Oh, there's no word count?
Uh-uh. You write, but you gotta write sense.
I didn't read that.
So, what is this one here, number 6? What is that there?
Have you been, they don't certify, they approve. Yeah, they approve.
You don't ask them that. Because when you move from organization to organization,
It's separate, yeah, it's a
Let's take that
separate
one.
issue.
How are you able to ID any suspicious activity? What would you do or have done?
Two.
I got that from someone, so I can't
Are you
explain
able
what
to
that all
ID
about.
any suspicious-
Yeah, I
That
know.
call is structure.
What type of report would you file if you suspect money laundering? They don't know that, they shouldn't apply.
Yeah, that's just basic.
If you are asked to assist with training, what would you do?
That's it. That's part of your role.
Because that one is in my original.
Yeah, that was my.
But you don't assist, remember?
That's your role.
That's why I say you have to know the role of an MLRO.
If we said more like, if we said, what's your vision for future
Training.
future training?
Yeah.
You know.
It could be better, structured, yeah.
Yeah.
Program for staff.
Which one it falls under?
It's how
How you word it, that's what I'm saying. Remember, I keep telling you all these words.
Yeah.
If you put this word in here, then that tells that you don't know what is the role and responsibilities of the MLRO. So you already put doubt inside the examiner's mind that you're going to write down the wrong road.
Yeah.
You guessing, you don't know. You have to know. Okay? So we can leave training, would you put that in there?
Training, skill,
And,
skill.
And skills. So we have how many so far?
A lot.
1, 3. Well, we have this one here, this one. Would you also review, no, we don't want that.
Could you also review?
No, we don't want that. Let's see what the next one says. What is your knowledge, experience of our industry?
Which industry?
Yeah, yes. So you have to say what is your knowledge and experience of our industry? You want that?
It's generally not.
No.
It's open,
Good
but
answer,
it's
yeah.
gonna draw,
Discussion.
How would you respond to that?
Because this question is right. Yes?
It's a question.
Now you see what I mean?
So you want
Enough to expound.
you want to hear that they've been trained, that they've been, that
The
they've
MLRO,
worked in the.
okay, if you're on the interview right now as an MLRO, when you finish this course, you apply, right? And they ask, what is your knowledge and experience in the banking industry? Answer.
work for
No, I
5 years.
understand, I'm just thinking from the point of view for, because I guess they're trying to
That's
test
another
my
CV.
knowledge as the candidate with these questions. And so to me, that's just the answer of, well, I work with so I.
No, they don't want what's on the resume, no.
That's what he said, so then,
No.
okay, I'm not sure I would.
I don't, yeah, same, yeah.
For the exam.
I
Now
would
you see why
expand
you
on that.
stuck.
Well, that's why I asked the question.
Why not? This is an easy, very easy
Yeah.
question.
You have to prepare.
What is your knowledge and experience of the industry?
I guess you could say what type of report you would prepare.
Industry.
Industry, and in our, and in the.
What's going on in the industry? They want to know if you know what is happening
I guess.
generally,
Yeah.
and you say where it's coming from, and then how it's affecting the business, and how does it affect
The
the actual
role.
company what you're trying to get a job for, and how would it affect your job?
So I guess what's going on in the industry, we could talk about, recent legislation.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Where the country, where the regulators are in the pursuit of fulfilling that compliance.
So you're, what you're saying is, like, rather than our industry, we should say.
No, it doesn't have to be specific. It's
Yeah,
either
so-
banking, securities, mutual
Okay.
funds,
AML.
whatever it is, you have to state. What key skills do you feel are necessary for the job? So this one can stay.
Oh, that does take me.
And you put down the notes what I told you in order to answer that. What key skills do you feel are necessary for the job? What you think?
Yeah.
What would your answer be?
Well, you're hoping to get from the individual, if they're able to say, well, a key skill necessary for an MLRO is the ability to be analytical. You're gonna get from that individual that they understand the key skills that are necessary. So your answer, on your answer side, you would have, analytical, all those key skills.
May want that.
Nope. I like that.
Are you able and willing to take ownership of SARS and SDR decision-making process?
Ownership.
Right.
That's their
Oh,
job.
no.
Have you any experience in risk management?
What is, I was better, but what is your
What's
understanding?
your understanding of personality?
Yes.
How would you categorize?
Or yours was knowledge of the risk takes approach?
Mm-hmm, same thing.
Janet, what is your understanding of
Or how would you assist in designing a risk management program for the organization?
maybe it's too narrow a
Yeah. No, that's a hard question. Have you worked for? That's a good one. Because that's in the resume.
Have you worked as an MLRO?
No, that's
What
no.
no.
Not at this level, no. Not at this level. Mm-mm. Sorry.
So, this question,
Okay.
right. What I say you should put underneath here. What are the key points you're gonna write here? What answer are you looking for?
General knowledge of the industry. What is
General
it
knowledge of the industry.
How it affects the job you do in your institution, and how has legislation impacted that industry or something.
Any changes?
And any recent
changes? And then if you are good, you would say that if you are selected for this job or hired for this job, what changes you would put into place? That's the kind of answer they're looking for. Yeah. Because we talk about what it was traditionally, and this is what, because of all these changes, this is what the role looks like, in my opinion now. Exactly. Okay? Yeah, but you didn't understand it then. This is when they would normally ask you this question. Why should I hire you? That means this. What do you bring to the table? What do you know? What skills do you have and experience and knowledge that's different from everybody else? So whenever they ask you that question, why should I hire you? It's asking you the same thing. What do you bring to the table? What are your experience, your skills, and your knowledge? Yeah. What are you going to do different? So if we look at our assignment number 2, they're asking you the same thing. At the very end, they tell you, what the 3 words are? Fresh, ideas, and focus. So it's the same thing. You're in the role and they want something new. How are you going to do it different? Now, not only did you all not read, y'all don't remember. What did I tell you about the last class? What I said was one of the most important things that we saw in this assignment that was not being done, that fell into one of these categories. That's very important to the regulator. No, not that part. Senior management and board. Governance. You need to ask, that's part of the MLRO has a very key position. And you learn that from looking at this assignment. They have a job to do.
So like how do you see your relationship with the board?
There you go. That's the second question you want to ask.
How do you see your relationship with the board?
Your relationship with the board and the corporate strategy. Remember the MLRO has certain...
That's all one question, corporate strategy?
Reporting to the board and corporate strategy. Remember the MLRO has a job to do. Yes, it's the monitoring and all of those little small things, but there's also reporting to the top. And if you don't know how to report to the top, then you're going to have a bad report, just like how it is in this assignment. Now this question was a good one. But remember when we speak about the role of the MLRO and its function, and you're talking about legislation and statutory requirements that refer to that position, for the MLRO reporting to the board, as great corporate governance, you're only talking about fines. You have to be knowledgeable of the fines.
Sorry?
Fines. You have to be able to articulate what the fines are if you don't do what it is you're supposed to do.
Okay.
And who is liable. That's the third question. Remember, don't think of this job MLRO as just the granular day-to-day things. When you think of the MLRO, they have a very specific function to do. When you have deficiencies in an organization and you are the MLRO, you find that there are a lot of weaknesses, and of course there are a lot of opportunities for losses and fines. You have to talk about performance. How do you deal with the performance of staff?
Sorry, is this still under
Next one.
this
Performance.
last one? Sorry, so how do you deal with staff performance?
And of course, what's the recent trend? Because we would have spoken about here, about trends. When you talk about the position of the MLRO, what is the recent trend?
Certification.
No.
She mean like,
Huh? the position.
Or the position.
Yeah, it's a key position.
Yeah, but there's a trend now. What is that trend?
With beneficial ownership.
Independence, great independence.
No, no.
Trans.
Current information.
Fine.
Oh,
We have to talk
Locally?
about that.
fine.
Internationally.
Okay.
It could happen locally. You have to talk about that. Yeah, but you have to talk about it.
Okay. Speak to,
Mhm.
speak to,
Regulatory enforcement actions and the
Okay.
effect on the position. Okay?
mhm.
Is that different?
No, it's the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Regulatory enforcement action on the position of the MLRO. Because you have to be
So
able to
that's different
understand.
from knowledge,
Yes,
legislation and penalty type thing?
it's knowledge.
Yeah, but fine.
It's knowledge. You have to know that this position is a key position and it has a heavy responsibility. And your duty is to report to the board accurate information. So your assignment shows all of the weaknesses that whoever was in that position before did not do what it is they're supposed to do. Not just at the day-to-day management of it, but also in terms of reporting to the board. Oh. You need to bring in your examples of how MLROs will fine, personally fine, for not doing their job. Yeah, that was an easy question. Yes, it was.
That's on the MLRO or the is?
On the MLRO.
Yeah, so like people watching them on, not the, or the MLRO.
When there are violation of sanctions and they're money laundering,
Yeah,
and the organization is fined by the regulator, they now fine the MLRO
they're coming out,
themselves.
yeah, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying.
So you need to
In
find
other words,
incidents
it's not
of
the
that.
power of the MLRO.
No.
It's who's watching them, right.
So like the questions which you put here are just like add-on questions that people would ask. But there are key questions that you ask. And those 5 are the key questions to see if you know what this role is. And the responsibility that goes with the role. So if you can't answer the 5 key questions, then you're not gonna move to the second interview. And you're gonna be wondering why. You're gonna say, I have all the qualifications, I have this, I have that, I've done that before, I know all of this. But it's the key things that they're looking for. And so if you look at your assignment and they had 5 key questions, the 3 questions have nothing to do with, can you file a SAR, when will you train for record keeping? Because the tone is always from the top. You have to know the reporting structure, know when to report, what to report, who is responsible, and who do you interact with from all the different departments to get what you need done. You happy now? What do you mean somewhat? We just did that, that was a good one. Huh? Yes, more. Because I want you to see that for some questions it goes outside of what's in the book. They go outside, right. And so if you haven't wrapped your mind around how the topic can come in a different shape or form, you're gonna be sitting there and saying, I can't answer this. And then you regurgitate what's in the book. And it won't help you. Wasn't sitting my time, but I do have this wrong for next week, don't worry, you come Yeah, you'll be here next week. We good?
One more paper plate.
Okay. Can I have 2 volunteers again, please? When you volunteer, trust me, when you go back and you write it down, you'll remember this in the exam. Two volunteers. Make this one quick. In terms of my volunteers. Evaluate the importance of integrity and ethics as part of the compliance culture of the firm. Let me skip that this year. We've done that for the last 3 years. And the answers are always not good.
Keep it.
Keep it then. And it's also be an assignment question.
Yeah,
And it
we have
wasn't
it
good.
as an assignment.
Yeah, and it's not good. You have been appointed to the role of the global head of compliance for a regulated organization, second position of your choice. After the initial review period, you have discovered members of the AML divisions are part of the new business bonus scheme for the firm. There is no compulsory AML training. There seems to be a general unwillingness to carry out meaningful customer due diligence. And there is a prevailing view that customer due diligence and anti-money laundering is the responsibility of the compliance team alone. Why, if at all, do these issues give cause for concern? Suggest how you might make constructive changes if you believe this is necessary. So you notice when the question comes, it's always pops back to the same thing. What is good practice? Corporate governance. That's what they're asking you again. What is good practice? So what is the importance of integrity and ethics? One word. You don't know that part. How would you answer that? That's 10 points. That's 10 points.
What, this question?
That sentence.
Oh, the one sentence.
Reputational, no.
That's 10 points.
Excuse me.
That's 2 pages.
I think everybody is.
1 page back and front, 8.5 by 14. So tell me, yes, ma'am,
What is the what?
you want 10 points? Evaluate the importance of integrity and ethics. What are you going to say?
I think it would be a key part of the corporate governance. How do you deal with
Reputational risk.
the AML risk?
And how you deal with what?
Reputational risk and
Uh-huh. grown in, what it mean? She grown in.
Compliance is rules-based, but integrity and ethics,
What does evaluate mean? They might tell you these keywords, you have to know what they mean. When they want you to evaluate, what are they asking you to do?
Analyze stuff.
compare.
And come to the conclusion, right, whether you agree or disagree. Okay, so where would you find integrity and ethics in compliance? It's just words. Where is it? What is it? Okay, so integrity is knowing what's right and what's wrong. Where does that come from? You're managing a group of people.
The board, the governance.
Corporate governance.
Quality.
Integrity is you knowing what is right and what is wrong.
Corporate culture.
It comes from the culture and it comes from the individual.
And also who you hire from the get.
Yeah. When I say individual, you as a person, you have to know right from wrong. It's a part of your annual training and your certification. So when you do your annual training and you sign and you said, yes, I have done my annual training, then you're saying you're honest, but it also points to your ethics. Because the company sets out its rules of what is right and what is wrong. And so your day-to-day activity is supposed to demonstrate the ethical values of the company. And in every organization, they have their ethical values. Whether they're posted on the wall. Exactly. So you have to talk about that. And you have to say what's in it. And what you're asking staff to do. And you have to talk about reprimand that people do not follow the code of conduct or do not act with integrity. That's how you get your 10 points.
Standpoint.
And you know, when people do the annual training as a part of the AML compliance team, we report this to the board. And remember, your feed-in is from senior managers. So all senior managers will advise you whether all of their staff have done their annual training. So each department sends it into compliance to say, all of my staff have done their annual training. And then you, as the MLRO, when you write to the board, you would say that annual training is 98%. And the 2% is because these people are on vacation, they're sick, and I will advise on all this stuff. So it starts from the top, it goes to the bottom, and it goes back to the top.
So you make sure the top gets training too.
All is in it. So you're getting good ideas now, right, on your good practice? And know where to put them in the different
Best
categories,
practice.
okay? Take that off? I need someone to answer subset 1, 2, and 3. This one was with 15 points.
So you're saying like that first intro would have been 10 and then the rest would have
The
been.
whole question was 25 points. This one is 10. This is 15.
And did it actually show a breakdown like that? Okay. So like each of the subsets are kind of 5 points.
Mm-hmm. So you know what that means, right? You have to answer right. Because if you answered wrong,
Not a lot of
5 points gone. Answer the next one wrong, another 5 points gone. And you see where the grades keep dropping lower and lower? And it goes down fast.
See that?
Okay, so let's go. Who's gonna do subset 1? This is what you discovered. Members of the AML divisions are part of the new business bonus scheme for the firm. Why, if at all, do these issues give cause for concern? So what's the concern?
It's a direct conflict of interest.
Policy abuses.
No, sir.
That's your concern. How would you make constructive changes? So what's the change?
Implement that recently.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're not gonna implement it, it's always there.
Well, enforcement.
You're gonna put it in place for that particular function.
But should they be tied to performance appraisal of them? Right, so I would probably stay away from that.
Take it away. Okay. So how would you reward them?
Who? Compliance?
Based on their report, right.
So you have to change
STR, you have to put in a new system
a
of
new
incentives.
a new reward system.
Yeah.
Anything else?
As well as a reward system, maybe emphasize more of a penalty system, like something to balance the bonus scheme. I mean, if you want to.
The only problem is the AML division, so.
I see. So don't worry about that.
Mm-mm.
So, of course, whatever changes we're talking about, if it impacts the policies, they would be changed.
You have to change the policies. Anything else? You need 5 points, you know? Five points on the table.
Would you go into more detail with the danger of the whole, of that situation
right.
and having, the penalties and the.
You have to explain that when you talk
Yeah,
about conflict of interest.
yeah, but
Why
like
it is a
the-
conflict.
Yeah.
But isn't that enough if you expound upon each one?
That's what I said, what else you gonna say? What else you gonna say? That's the language.
We talked about the impact to the firm of having this sort of situation in place, the negative effects of,
Right.
what did you call it?
And of course, such a change should be noted to the board, eh?
Right, when you only negative effects You mean what you're suggesting, or
No,
what,
of
or what the,
what it
yeah,
was
okay.
before. And I got here insane people.
The client relationship managers are the front-facing people of the firm.
Mm-hmm.
They have the direct contact with the client, so they would be the first line of defense.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not trained in AML to recognize it or whatever, then,
The first thing I would do is I would,
Yeah.
What would you do?
First thing I would
maybe
do
if I would
is
suspend more.
What's the concern?
Regulatory breaches, statutory breaches.
Awareness.
The first thing is it's not compulsory. So what is your concern?
Regulatory and statutory breaches, because it's required by the law.
If they do any breaches, they have the liability to
And best practice.
that's what I.
You have regulatory breaches.
Statutory too, right? I think it's the
AML
law.
training. I don't remember what I mean.
No? No?
AML training.
Lillian, no?
And yours?
No?
Yeah.
I thought so.
And you,
I think it's in
The firm-
FIU.
you increase the
Yes.
risk, you
Yeah.
increase the
You
risk
increase
to
the
the
risk.
firm.
And it's an increase to like board and them all, they can say that y'all failed rather than, like, if they get blamed for something, they can turn around and say we weren't adequately trained, therefore, and that falls under the, that's risk. No, it's risk,
Yeah.
but it's like more specific, I guess it's, I'm looking at it internally.
Mhm.
That, if I was the MLRO, they could turn around and say, well, it wasn't my fault that I accepted that money, it was hers because I didn't get paid for it.
What about the fact that,
I know,
there is a
I-
breach, then you open the firm up to these hefty fines?
That's up to increased risk from the breach of the fines. What would you change?
Make the training mandatory.
I remember when we change, always answer the questions why, okay?
Okay.
What change?
Make the training mandatory.
Okay. How do you do that?
I'll make it.
Implement it in your policy.
You put it in the
Make
policy.
sure the policy is enforced, because that has to be a policy.
Okay, you can use both words,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Practical application of the policy.
So, whenever you make a change to a policy, what should be done?
You have to report
Written.
to the board.
The board has to.
You need approval from the board.
Okay. And
And then
one more step.
you implement it, you have to start the training, you're gonna carry it out, how it would be
No,
done.
before you do that. You
Advise
Oh, so
the
you're letting them know
employees.
what's happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you go through
I see.
implementing and rolling it out. Okay? What else you gonna change? Five points, five points?
I think we get out by 5 points by this.
Mandatory, then we have to incorporate that into the framework, into the whole framework
Mhm.
to ensure that it's tracked and reported.
Yes.
and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just quickly say what you like.
I said incorporate in the AML framework that includes reporting to the board and monitoring vital compliance team. Every day. And the third one? Yeah, compliance team. And the third one? What's the concern?
The third one, it's supposed to be a general and complaining
Again, you open the firm up to greater risk.
concern. From the top again.
What's your concern?
Greater risk.
Unwillingness is the rest, it's a concern. Essentially, general unwillingness to carry out meaningful customer due diligence. There is a prevailing view that CDD and AML is responsible to the compliance team alone. What's the concern?
The concern is the entire firm is exposed to greater risk.
Weak compliance culture.
There we go. What would you change and why? You're going to.
So great corporate governance.
It goes,
Has to start at the top.
responsibility.
Okay, so we have the tone from the top, sending the message. What else?
Training.
Clearly define the rules.
Ah, there goes my boy, he's on the road. Believe it or not, I heard you saying that before you said it. What else?
I think you have to assess your AML training program.
Ah, there we go. Anything else? It's an easy question. Very easy. Anything to do with this question with these 3 units is very easy. Why do you look so? It is easy. No. Very easy question. Take it off? Mm-hmm. I know the other food is used to slides. You know, the slides thing. I can take this off?
I just want to get down.
You just want to lecture.
Exactly.
I know they miss Mr. Thompson's slides.
We have to meet him first. We have to meet him first.
Steven show up. Oh,
We used to have lecturers not coming to class.
Yeah, he's coming next class. Okay,
I like that.
instead of me drawing a box within a frame, we would pretend that this is my box. Okay? So, where you going? Hurry up. When we say that the MLRO and with its function works within a framework, so when we talk about the AML framework, what are we talking about?
yeah.
What are we talking about?
Statutes of a particular jurisdiction governing AML CFT.
Legislation.
Guidelines, best practices.
Last question, finish. That's why there was a pause.
I know, but my brain might have switched off a little bit.
This is the last portion.
This is the next chapter.
Oh, oh, unit 12. 12.
We did 11 last week.
Oh, you did 11 last week. What is that about?
You weren't here?
No, I hardly ever come.
So when we speak about legislation, what is the legislation? What are the regulations? What are the guidelines?
It's not helpful to me. This doesn't count.
Let's go, units 2 and 3, tie it all in, all of those,
Come to class,
all of the legislation. No,
Class together, I'm not going to. It's fine.
Feel free to elaborate.
No. And the guidelines?
Central Bank or Securities Commission or FIU. And they're all online.
Me?
Oh, I gotta read 11.
Okay. Now we're talking about. From these laws, regulations, and guidelines, you have to be aware of the obligations.
Ongoing obligation.
Okay. We also have within this framework international, that's a good part of that. So it depends from where your company operates, head office, subsidiaries, whoever you do business with. You have to know the international best practices. But of course, we start with okay. Make sure you have that copied and ready to go and read it, not just the sections you did for the assignment. Because based upon what the question is, there may be a recommendation that pertains to that. That's how you get your points. So you can write all kind of names for customer due diligence. But if you didn't put in the FATF, you didn't put in the central bank guidelines, and anything else, I'm afraid just keep dwindling down. Okay? Okay? I put this here because you can use the Jersey or you can use the FSA. It depends. And you're ready. This one here?
The bottom one?
Yes?
Yes.
Obligations of management and staff.
Oh.
Now, the first thing we have to do is, when you're talking about an AML CTF framework, what's the first thing you have to do? What's the first thing you have to do? This is the framework. It's all outside of your company. What do you have to do now?
A compliance program.
So,
Based on all of that.
okay, Lillian is getting there. She said you do. She says, okay, we have the AML CTF framework. This is all the legislation, the guidelines. When you read these, you know what the obligations are when you would have read units 2 and 3. And you know what the international best practices are, all that is out there. You are an organization now. What is your next step?
Policy.
Okay, you have to write
AML,
policy.
CFT policy.
Okay, whose job is that?
Compliance. Well,
MLRO. with compliance
Yeah.
team. That's the first thing you have to do.
Gotcha.
Be good?
Yeah. Now this was with my gas today. Jurisdiction is doing the
Okay? And whenever you write a policy, what is key about formulating a policy? Two things. Two things. You're writing a policy, you're an MLRO, and you have to write a policy. There are two instances. One, where the company is brand new, so you have to write it. And two, when you're part of the group, you'll be the group next. You have to formulate a policy. So this is where there is none. You're a standalone company. What are the two things you have to bear in mind when you're going to formulate a policy? What's your flaw?
It has to be in accordance with that.
If I ask you to write a policy right now, what's the first thing comes to mind?
The benefits of the policy.
It has to be tailored to the business, yes, but feasible.
Benefit.
Feasibility is more to do with the Google's oil spill. Think of a different word. You're writing an AML CTF policy. You ask yourself, what do I hope to achieve? Right. What do I hope to achieve when I write this policy? And your book gives you a list of things that you should bear in mind. Read those.
Page 320.
350.
Oh,
See that?
expectation, standards, and behavior. Oh, okay.
So, the first thing is, what do you hope to achieve? And then we'll go to his comment. After you know what you need to achieve, it has to be tailored based on the size, scope, complexity of the business. You look at the operations. You look at the product and services. And of course, you have to look at something else. We talked about this with Unit 4. Something else is key when you're writing an AML CTF policy.
Time.
Time? But how long you have to write it?
No, time to carry it out.
That's later.
Those last few words,
Where?
after complexity of business.
Service.
Operations, products and services. What else is key in writing an AML CTF policy? You can't write the policy in vacuum. You know the size, you know what you want to achieve, you know the products and services. What else is key?
Consistent with legislation.
What the legislation hanging out there?
Current trends.
Best practices, legislation, consistency, guidelines.
I don't know which one. Think. Policy, you're writing a policy. Y'all notice. Focus. No. Why is it necessary is what do you have to achieve? What are you trying to achieve? This is a business. Think about it, it's a business. You're putting in an AML CTF policy. Y'all know this word, 4 letters, begins with R, ends with K.
Risk.
You have to know the company's risk appetite. Okay. I tell you, all these units come together, you have to know what to pick out of it. You gotta know your risk appetite. in the policy. That's a couple of things. Overall, what should be in it?
The actual process is, students to achieve the objectives and set.
Yeah, I know you will go to any book. Don't mix up policy, process, and procedure. Different things. Then I have some clear objectives. What else? To feel into your business. You have to talk about what? What else? How are you going to assess the overall risk? And how are you going to avoid jurisdiction shopping?
I don't understand that.
Jurisdiction shopping. This is when you're part of a group, and because of the AML requirements in one jurisdiction, you can't accept the client, then you recommend it to another part of the group. The other group member just accepts it. But I'm going to see if it, yeah. Yeah, that's what they do. And what else? Set out the words and the responsibilities. Of who? Who's everyone?
Board, every, different, all the different levels.
So tell me again.
The board, the
Okay,
senior
start from the top.
management, the compliance team, the other staff members, and whatever business it is, depending on.
Anybody else?
HR.
So that's senior management, so you're the head of each one.
That's number 2.
Yeah. I remember last week when we did this, I did some ROs, right?
Yeah.
But when you, and the ROs had to do with all of the senior managers.
Right.
So whom you have a relationship with, the MLRO and the compliance team. But we know in today's world that in most organizations, there are hubs. So when there are hubs, there are other persons. So you have to do third-party vendors, and you also have to do any outsourced providers. Okay? Why are you breathing so hard? I can take this off now? Using the same paper now? What that hell means?
Time to go.
Time to go? When do we really start?
Be there early.
What kind of speech you up? General? Get too early, general, bottom, I get the seat going. Stick with me. All right. What's the next thing you're gonna do? more. Yes, there's more.
No, I thought that was number 2, but this is number 2.
Oh, no, I just finished breaking it down as to what should be in the policy. What you gonna do next?
Right. After the policy has been.
Yeah, you formulated it. What you gonna do next?
Procedures.
Thank you, you know.
I just get the approval.
Thank you. She want to implement. How she get down there?
I'm paying for approval.
You see why they did this question just for you? Okay. Board and senior management, either approval or, if it is group, what is it? What's the word? No. Approval. If it's
Group-wide approval.
and if it's not, if you want the board and senior management.
Amendment?
No. It's an A word. Here it is. No, A. No. Wrong. Okay. Don't breathe again. It's not hard. I made it going in and out, but that's all right. If you're part of a group, you're gonna adopt the head office policy, but you have to add to that what? Local requirement. Okay. And you do that in what? How do you do that?
An amendment? Addendum?
Addendum. Or not?
Governance.
So now we come to her. What we gonna do now? Implement. How do we do that?
Communication.
How do you implement? Don't just jump to the work, to the task. Remember, you're an MLRO. How do you implement this? Go up.
Advise the board.
No, you already done that.
Advise the staff.
Now it's the training.
Communicate to the staff. To communicate to employees.
Procedures,
You've written it, right?
you need to implement.
The handbook.
The
About
board.
this, we ain't get there yet. Oh, you need to implement this. How do you do that?
Senior management advisors.
Communicate to employees.
People have to know about
Before you
it.
do all of that.
Give notice of the policy,
Before you do that.
circulate.
Before you do that.
You create your handbook and your policies.
Those are in addition to.
So after you receive senior management award,
Approval, you have the policy in your hand now, they tell you to implement it, what are you going to do? You don't just go and implement it.
Communicate.
Huh? Yeah, that's all a part of the action item.
No idea.
It's right there, I know you all do it. Come on, think about it. You are the MLRO. Stop thinking so
You gotta train it.
task oriented. go up. This is a senior management position. You formulated a policy, or policy has been adopted from head office. You've made some addendum if necessary, based upon the local legislation where you change it. Because remember, it's always the higher standard that is used. So if the standard in the Bahamas is higher than your head office, you would have prepared an addendum to reflect that change. The board has approved it, along with senior management. Then I'll tell you, it's approved. You have to go there, implement it. What are you going to do? You have to establish a team. You gotta look and you have to structure how you're going to implement it.
Really?
Don't think about the task. Think about how you're going to do it.
The structure, you mean?
The structure, how you're going to implement it. Who's responsible for what in the policy? How you're going to communicate it. You can take it a little bit higher because you have to think as a manager. Okay?
Would you then liaise with the, whoever is your CFO or?
You have to liaise with all of the, remember all of those partners within the organization? You have to liaise with each one of them. That's the best way to implement this policy. And remember when the question came in your assignment as to resources, you have to think about resources at that time. Point number 2. So you have a policy, and when you have a policy as the MLRO and you are supported by the team, you must prepare the.
So these aren't things that we would have already gone into when we tailored it to the business?
What?
Like, in other
No,
words.
no, you're
the
writing a
team-
policy.
Okay,
You're just writing it. This is implementing it now.
okay.
Based on the policy, you have to have an annual plan. Fresh ideas means annual plan is what we always do. Fresh ideas is what you're gonna put in this plan. What goes in an annual plan? Because don't forget, implementing this policy is not just circulating it. From the MLRO desk, you have to write a plan.
So you wanna state your objective, your timeline.
Hmm?
So it's immediate goals.
Before you meet your goals, you must address what?
A timeline.
No, before you do the timeline, think of your assignment,
Priorities.
your priorities. Your annual plan is going to say what you're going to focus on for this year. What are you going to address? How are you going to address it? The timeline, who is responsible, and who is going to share in the responsibility from the other senior managers. That's your annual plan. You know what the side means over here, right? Responsibilities, it goes to the board, and you also share it with the regulator. The same way the internal audit shares their yearly plan, you know that, right? Internal audit shares their annual plan, and they also share what else? They share the results of each audit. Compliance in turn shares their annual plan, and they provide a summary of the deficiencies based on their compliance reviews. And you can do this quarterly. That's why one of the key things in this position is that you must have a good relationship with the regulator. This is all about communication. And remember, whenever you write to the board, you don't just write anything. You could have seen 5 deficiencies. But when you write to the board, you always write to the board, not what is main, not what is key, but what has the most risk. Okay? Always remember that. You could have had an operational loss of $500,000. That would be reported in the operational report. But from your compliance perspective, was that risk a big risk, or was it just a small risk? They're 2 different things. One is a loss. The loss could be huge based upon their parameters for loss. But you from compliance look at what is the risk. Was the risk a very small risk, just a small breach someone did? Or was it a large risk, whereby procedures have to be amended? Okay? That's when they always say this word risk-based. It's not just to do with risk rating the customers. You have to take the risk and the potential for risk, looking at unforeseen risk, and you can categorize it. Then we can talk about the approach, implementing it. So you get, see where you're doing a timeline for the assignment? It's the same thing here. Your approach to implementing it is you give a timeline. So you give a schedule, calendar for the year, and you say which department or which units are going to be trained and who is going to train it, and here attached is the training material. Everything goes to the compliance team. You don't need them to prepare it. The MLRO prepares all of that. Okay? So you have a timeline. You say who is assigned to do what, and you give them the training material. Ensure that you have adequate resources to carry out your plan. Because if you don't have adequate resources, what happens? It fails. And if it fails, you know what the consequences are. It becomes a regulatory concern.
So do you ensure that you have the adequate resources before? Because if you're just mapping out, if you're just writing out the approach,
when you write,
I guess you would have
when you write your annual plan, you're supposed to know you have adequate resources. Because if you don't have adequate resources, you can't wait till you're in the middle of the plan to go to human resources to say I need 2 more staff. Because by the time they start get trained, before they get recruited, selected, and trained up, the year is over.
Right.
You back right back here to being deficient. It happens here.
Okay.
Then we could go to my good friend over here, and you could get an AML CTF handbook that the staff could use for easy reference. That's an additional tool.
You have the manual.
And of course, it has to be updated. Now remember, handbooks don't go to the board. Policies go to the board. Advise staff of any plans. of communication. And if you have outsourced functions, you have to put that also as a part of your annual plan. Because whenever you outsource, what do you have in place? If you outsource a function either to another member of the group or to a third party, what do you have in place? You have an SLA or some type of agreement. And within that agreement, it should have a paragraph that deals with compliance. And that paragraph that deals with compliance from your job, it doesn't tell you in that paragraph what the risks are. As the MLRO, you're supposed to know what are the risks associated with the function that is outsourced. So you have to, in your annual plan, say how you're going to address the risk involved in what has been outsourced. So how do you do that? How would you implement this? You have a new policy, you have a function that's outsourced. How do you do that?
Outsourcing policy.
An outsourcing policy is an internal document. You outsource a function to someone else.
So the service level agreement,
Doesn't speak to the risk.
addressing the risk, it does.
You have to provide
You have to provide outsourced provider with
your policy.
to why?
With,
Remember when we started at the very beginning and I did the framework? You have to advise the outsourced provider to the relevant legislation and guidelines that pertains to the risk that you have outsourced.
okay.
Okay?
See, you do it.
This could be a part of the SLAs.
No. SLA just gives a general wording. As the MLRO, you're supposed to know what to do with that wording. Where would you get your comfort for this? Where would you get this from? This is somewhere else around the world. How would you get this information? Twofold. How would you get this? Twofold. How would you get it? You would get it from the department in your organization
Doing the outsourcing.
that has the relationship with the third party. Okay? So you get it from your internal department, staff, who deal with the service provider. And your second source is who? What's the second source?
Third party.
Internal auditors. Okay? And if it's an actual third party, like completely outside of the group, then you can use, like she said, the external auditor's report.
I'm sorry, is this stuff that you're providing to your, the person the entity you outsource to, or that the outsourced entity is providing to you for your examination?
Both. There's two ways. And of course, it should speak to the escalation process, okay? They like escalation on the exam, I can tell you that now.
Okay.
They love it. And an issue that is current in the Bahamas So whatever you do, after you finish all of this, you need one key thing. You do all of this. You can formulate it, approved by the board or adopted. It is from head office. You can do your implementation of your policy, which means you're writing out your annual plan. These are the things that you're looking for. You're addressing all of the risk in your organization. But what is key to all of this is you must have you gotta have the tone from the top. That's key. And the only way you can have this buy-in and the tone from the top is by what? How can you get this? Go back to your assignment. You can't get this buy-in or tone from the top if you as the MLRO not reporting the deficiencies. You're not giving them the information that they need in order to address the deficiencies. You as the MLRO are supposed to report what are the deficiencies, and you're supposed to give the remedial plan. It goes to the board. The board says whether they agree or disagree. They'll ask you, do you have sufficient staff for this? How long is this going to take? How long is this going to cost us? Then they go to operation, your partners, and say, if we implement this, what will this cost? How will this do? But systems have to be changed. All of that comes in from the tone from the top. And they can't get that if the NLRO doesn't carry out its function properly. And of course, if you don't have the buy-in and the tone from the top, then it becomes a regulatory issue. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Remember the 5 questions? You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here. I found it very helpful.
You want to come back, we want you back. It's still not this what you know. No, they say you.
Hey, come on,
They say you coming back. They ain't give nobody out.
Y'all like pitching my body.
Yeah.
I find the ball is better than the slides. Because the slides you can't explain.
Yeah.
I don't like the slides, because when you do the slides, it's just regurgitation what is the book, and I don't know what is the book.
Yeah.
So I prefer you think a little bit more.
More talking.
Yeah.
I understand.
You get that one already, right?
Hey, somebody what? And you know,
Yeah, a lot. You? Thank you. Something that'll get worse.
Christine, post of action. Wait in. Okay, bye.
Give me that spot, baby.
Do you,
So they get this
I can leave to assign you to provide feedback before we submit it?
I say that.
You mean,
Okay.
not
When you was in here last week, give me a note.
I just wanted to, I turned on my side, I was going to ask for feedback.
Let's say you go to that.
Yeah, it was too late. Yeah. I wasn't too happy.
Mr. Thompson, no offer that to you?
We haven't had.
Oh, you had a man, oh, you can do it.
Okay, well, like I said, again, I get trouble with you guys and see what happens. So as I complete a level, I may be able to make
Okay.
a piece. Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, she can't
What body again?
I just junction of Oak Hill Road and Skyline Drive.
Like she
Put a rubber
on
on
herself or something.
The tree looks too fragile to support a
They say
sustainable
no,
weight.
they believe who's going on here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a suicide to me. You shot himself?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a suicide to me.
The two behemoths? They believe fish. What is this? What is this? They hanging themselves, shooting themselves. These are my markers. These are my markers. But I think, you know what I think? I think all of this communication, is leading people astray. Because you can imagine you have somebody and somebody say, man, I can see your girlfriend or your wife pulling over so-and-so. I'm not calling number is so-and-so, number is so-and-so. She could be coming home right now, you know.
Send a video.
Let's send a video, right? That didn't mean she just come from there, right? Or she could have just stopped there to do whatever it is. I said, she could be home in 5 minutes. I didn't see her passing.
Yeah.
This ain't nowhere where this woman being. No clue what you're talking
People
about.
do know it's-
And then they turn around and they kill the person, and it's not necessary.
For no reason.
And that's what happened. And they turn around, they kill themselves, and they realize, guess what, I'm behind.
Yeah.
This is a serious thing, I think, communication.
It's needed.
And cable? No, I didn't cable the show.
Yeah, understand that.
I mean, the film went too fast.
Y'all taking pictures and sending videos, don't even stop that.
Wait a minute, where you going?
Okay.
What's that? There's a. For everybody coming out.
No, because here my jacket is not working.
Who said I didn't want?
Where?
The one who was showing for the
Oh, that's,
Oh,
Yes, and that is,
but listen, boy.
Country of hand.
yeah, but they gotta do
If you
something.
don't know.
You see what Indonesia did, when they all lose, everybody around the world make noise for what, 2
They hung
weeks?
them people.
Yeah, they hang them, but that was finished,
I
right?
think that's what
News was done,
I
right?
think that's
After they hung them, it was done. Just do it.
I mean-
Everybody can say, oh, it's barbaric, we should do, but we know what the problem we have. I know.
Cuba is a country of 11 million people. If you go to Cuba, you go to the poorest area.
You know,
Never
right,
go
right?
where every crime. 11 million people.
You can go anywhere in the Middle East, try one grind.
These 200,000
You see what
people
happened
on
to
this
you.
island.
And they can't, because they playing with
You
them.
done almost 50.
but if you know the right person, if you know the right person, nothing happens.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
You know what happens? We have, and I was just telling you, 5 years ago, we had 100 and something murders. And from then to now, we've been having murders in the hundreds every year. We have